My name's Tony with Hippie in the Tech, and today we are going to talk about RV power systems. How do you run your air conditioner off batteries? How do you boondock? And what do you use for power? How do you plug things in while you're traveling? Today we're going to show you how we're able to run our AC off of our batteries, assist our power system when we're just using a 15 amp plug and we're mooch docking, and we're going to show you how all of our outlets work now. So first things first, let's talk about how the power gets to our rig. So without a special battery system or anything, most people will plug in their rig into the pedestal, and it's either going to be 30 or 50 amps, and that's going to bring the power over to our automatic transfer switch. Now mine is sitting in this bay, and what this does is it'll take the power from the pedestal and the generator, and we'll make sure that only one of those is going to our breaker panel. Now we know that when we plug in our rigs, the 120 volt outlets work because our breaker panel is energized. Now our rig came where if we weren't plugged into a pedestal, only a couple outlets worked on an inverter, and we had to turn that inverter on for the two TVs to work, and that was it. If we weren't plugged in to pedestal power or the generator wasn't running, we didn't have any other power. So what we had to do is we had to break that connection between the automatic transfer switch and our breaker, and we had to put a box in between there called the Smartphase selector. Now what the Smartphase selector does is it'll take the generator power and the pedestal power from that automatic transfer switch, and it'll also take power from our battery system. Then it acts basically like a smart transfer switch. What it'll do is it'll allow our Victron inverter to assist power that the pedestal is not producing enough of. So we have a 3000 watt inverter and 600 amp hours of lithium battle-borne batteries. And we have 1600 watts of solar up on the roof. Now you can have a battery system, you can have a nice inverter, you can have solar, but the thing that's making this work for our rig is that we were able to put that energy to use whether we are connected to a pedestal or a generator's running. Because what we did was, if you look at this chart here, we were able to go in between the automatic transfer switch and the breaker panel, run all of our power sources into the Smartphase selector, and then that Smartphase selector will make sure that we're getting proper power to our breaker panel. Now there are some limitations. Our inverter is only 3000 watts. So it has a 50 amp pass through. It'll produce 3000 watts by itself with the batteries, as long as the batteries have juice. But without any assistance from the pedestal, 3000 watts is our max. But if I have my batteries fully charged, I've got 3000 watts, I can have my pedestal plugged in to, let's say, 15 amps. So in addition to that 3000 watts that my batteries can produce, I'm getting pedestal power of around 16 to 1800 watts. Okay, so now I've got over 4000 watts that I have access to. If I want to save money when I'm renting a spot and I'm paying for electric, well, I can turn my inverter down to 7.7, or I can turn it down to 15 amps, and it'll be the equivalent of just plugging a little 15 amp Edison plug into the pedestal. But my batteries and my inverter is going to make up the difference. Now, if it's hot out and there's not a lot of sun coverage and you have two air conditioners running, one thing you have to think about is, do I have enough battery power to keep assisting this 15 amps? So days like that where you got some cloud cover, you may want to change it to where you have maybe 25 or 30 amps coming from the pedestal, and then you have your 3000 watts coming from the batteries. The bottom line is this: if you want to be able to use all of your outlets and all of your appliances, whether you're plugged into a pedestal or not, this is the way you can do it. So right now, as you can see, I've got nothing coming out on the grid. We're inverting power. I've got 94 watts coming in on my solar because I'm just charging my batteries right now. My batteries are at 92%, and I've got a 16 watt load on my house right now. So right now, as it sits, I can plug in anything in my rig right now. All my outlets are live because my batteries, my inverter is actually going into my Smartphase selector, as well as the pedestal power and the generator. But right now, the only thing that's getting there is my batteries. But because I've got 16 watts of an AC load, my solar is 93. It's more than covering that, so it's charging my batteries. So the sun's kind of going down. There's not a lot of solar right now, so I'm not expecting a whole lot here. All right, so the fan just kicked on the AC, so you can see we're getting an AC load. So now my battery's going this way, and then so is my solar. So as long as this stays below 3,000 watts, my battery power is going to invert and cover that with no problem. So now I'm going to go outside and I'm going to turn the pedestal on. While we're waiting for the AC to kick on, when I turn the pedestal power back on, you'll notice it's at 2,084 watts. Now that pedestal with 50 amps can get up to, we should be able to see easily 6,000 watts on the one leg. So I'm actually limiting how much we're bringing in off the grid based on how many amps I want to pull in. So now the AC is kicking on, so we're drawing a little more, but we're also bulk charging. And then during the middle of the day, if the sun was out a little bit more, we would see at least 1,000 watts coming from the solar. And then once this charges all the way, that 1,000 watts would end up trickle charging the batteries and also taking care of that, and this would go down. One of the things I really want to get across is if you're looking to mooch dock at your parents' house or somewhere that only has 20 amps, a little Edison plug that you would see inside your house, or maybe it's a 30 amp service. What you're able to do with enough batteries and a big enough inverter, right? I've got a 3,000 watt inverter, which isn't massive, and I've got 6 lithium batteries. What you're able to do with that, with the Smartphase selector, is you'll be able to plug in, limit the inverter, the pass through, not what the inverter can do, but what's passing through the inverter from the pedestal. You can limit that to 15 amps, 20 amps, whatever you're plugging into, because you don't want to have it set at 50 amps if you're only plugged into a 20. So if I set my whatever I'm plugged into at whatever it's rated for, well, that 15 amps is going to give me an additional whatever 15 times 120 is. Think about it this way. You're visiting family or friends and all they have is a 15 amp circuit in the garage and you run an extension cord out to it. Normally you're going to be taxing your system if you try to use that, or you won't be able to use your air conditioner, or you got to be careful running an air conditioner with a microwave. It's too complicated. So here you can limit what your inverter is bringing in from that power source, and then you use your batteries to make up for that 3,000 watts. Now you may say, well, I'm gonna end up burning my batteries up all day, what do I do? Well, the alternative is when you're boondocking, you can run your generator all day long, so you can run all your appliances and your air conditioner, or you can run your AC off your batteries and use the solar, right, to try to keep up with it, which it's not going to. It's going to eventually die, but it's going to take a while. Like for us, we can go all day long running an air conditioner out in the desert if it's not a gazillion degrees. Then at the end of the day, run your generator for an hour or two to charge your batteries up. That way you're not running that generator all day long trying to keep things going and keep your batteries charged. So you got the batteries, use them. Now, we're big proponents of Battleborn batteries because we love the guys over there. But there's a lot of different companies out there at different price points. Anything is better than sticking with a bunch of lead acids. The lead acids, you're only really able to use 50% of them because they actually lose voltage as you use them up. So it starts off at say 12 volts, but by the time you're used halfway, you're around 10. That's why your lights start to get golden brown as your batteries die. With lithium, they're more linear. You got power, and then when they die, they click off. It's like a power drill with a lithium battery. It works until it doesn't. It doesn't start slowing down. So, more of the story is, go ahead and get yourself a system that works for you and allows you to kind of have freedom in this lifestyle. If you want to be able to use your power outlets, you're going to have to figure out a way to get that inverter to break in between the transfer switch and your breaker panel. There's a lot of great people out there that know how to do this. There's a bunch of forums out there if you want to do it yourself. I'm not an expert. I'm a user of the technology. So if you want to check out, there's a DIY solar group, part of our family of groups on Facebook. Anybody that's certified as an NRVTA technician should be able to help you with the installation. There's a lot of good resources out there. So until next time, please like, subscribe, and follow. We're going to try to put content out on a regular basis again. I know we took a break for a while, but check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you on the next video.